Hello everyone, and welcome to the 5-year anniversary of my channel. I've been excited to make this video for the last 6 months or so because I've only realized just how long it's been, or at least how long it feels since I started the channel. There's been so many changes, it's hard to keep track of them all, but I do want to try to list them all out. First off, I have 3 channels. You may or may not know, but I post all of my raw footage on a separate YouTube channel for archiving purposes mostly, and a silent Let's Play of sorts. It's called DEDMan Graveyard, and I'll be linking it below. Just as a big warning though, when I say raw footage, it's raw footage, so like there are some points I've gotten a lot better about it, but there's some points where there are long stretches of the thing just doing nothing. Like, for instance, I remember on my Assassin's Creed 1, there is a section in there that is like 45 minutes of basically me just standing there. I forget what I had to do, but I had to get up and go do something, and I forgot to turn my recording off, and so I just kept going after that. And this is before OBS put in a pause button. The other channel is one I started with Gray, and it's uncreatively titled DEDMan and GreyWulf, and that's where we post our Let's Plays with commentary. I've gotten several comments about my stream quality, so we just decided to record us playing the games and posting them. Plus, with our hectic schedule, it just makes more sense to record them and post later. Outside of the channel news, I have significantly improved my editing.
Douchebag! It's me, Paladin Motors, your friend! Don't be on Kyle's team. He may have cooler people on his side, and a better base, and sometimes they have pinata parties that... Well, I should probably just stop talking.
Oh, Butters. You mean well, but you never picked the good side. Always siding with Cartman for some reason.
You've got 2 problems, and we're working on borrowed time here. First, there's no fuel in the engines. Second, the gravity centrifuge is offline, which means there's a couple of trillion tons of rock pulling us down. I need you to get that centrifuge operational. Refuel the main engine and fire it up so I can stabilize the ship's orbit.
It is incredibly badass that Isaac is an engineer. Not many games have you play as one. It is, however, not badass that I'm just running around the whole ship getting orders barked at me and fixing stuff. And experimented with shorter videos in between. Lately I've just been sticking to the everything great about videos and the time lapses of the various DEDMan, but that's subject to change depending on. Especially because there's been a couple of people that have wanted the review from Beyond the Graves to come back, and potentially other things, but mostly just that, so we'll just have to see how things go. I've also taken over my channel art, going from artist to artist and finally learning how to do it myself. For one reason or another, it's been difficult to keep people on, so I started to pursue doing it myself and chatting with them as consultants. I've been very proud of how the art has grown, and very pleased as I can include as many characters as I want now. Part of the problem was I had to, pay people to do the art, and I'm not making any money off of this, so I just kept sinking more and more money into doing the art, especially as my number of characters grew. So it just kind of got to a point where I was thinking, hey, what if I just did it myself? And then things like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Persona 5, where it's like, there's a huge cast of characters and I can't afford to pay for all of them. So now I can just draw them all myself. So since the full plan of mine hasn't come to fruition yet, I'm just going to share my schedule with you. Granted, it's very loose, meaning I tend to swap things around as I see fit, but mostly they stay within the same rough position. As you can see, it's all dead space for the foreseeable future, along with a few games to tie up series I've already started, as well as some big releases that I haven't gotten to yet. I will say though, even though it is dead space for the foreseeable future, since I have finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy XVI, I'm going to be working on the scripts for both of those, and those will pretty much just come out whenever I am done with them. So I would still say it's probably going to be a minute, but keep on the lookout for them nonetheless. I'm very slow at doing this, and I've never been one to play or cover things right as they come out, and the few times I did, it felt like they were missing something, so in that case it's better to make people wait a bit to make sure it's up to the standard I've set for myself, as well as trying to make the best video for people to tune in. I thoroughly appreciate all of the likes, comments, subscriptions, views, and suggestions that everyone has pitched in over the years. It really means a lot, even if I'm doing this mostly for myself. It's nice to get feedback. Alright, and now for the big part of the video. I've set up a Q&A for everyone to, well, Q&A, So, here goes. In a couple of different flavors, there's what's been my favorite to produce/cover. Offhand, I have a few different answers for a few different reasons. The first is the Metal Gear Rising video. Not only was it when I felt like I finally was getting the hang of the editing thing, but it's the first Infinite win I ever did, and just, like, got silly with the video. Sure, I had my general goofiness and terrible jokes, but this is the first one that felt 100% natural. Not to say the others were forced, but this is the first one where I, like, dove into it really, really good. I wanted to give the game a stupidly high score because of how fun it was, and even timed the Infinite whim to pop up at a specific time because of sheer badassery. The second answer is Mass Effect. I hadn't played the series since I finished Mass Effect 3 back in 2012 from, you know, the sheer disappointment of the whole thing. The games are special, more than I ever realized, and I loved going through every bit of it again, and championing the third one even just a little bit by the end of it all. I still have Andromeda to cover, but I'm very excited for it and whatever else the series has to offer. Third is, you guessed it, Kingdom Hearts. It pains me and delights me that I can say I've been a fan literally since day one over 20 years ago. I was actually super anxious to cover it, as I wasn't entirely sure I could do it proper justice, but looking back at it now, I think I did a great job with it, and I'm extremely proud that I gave my favorite series of all time the proper credit it deserves. To add on to that question, Lulu asks what game was I most excited to cover, and truth be told I still haven't covered it. The main reason I started this channel was getting frustrated that there was no Gaming Wins channels, but there were plenty of Sin channels, so one day after watching Dardigan's ridiculously long video over Final Fantasy XIII, I decided that that was going to be my goal. Cover 100 games and make the Fabula Nova Crystallis games the 100 plus episodes. Granted, my counting is off because I count movies and DLC wins as half episodes, but the point still stands. As of this video, I'm 73.5 out of 100 of the way there, and while it's slow going, I will see it through. What's your favorite joke for the channel? Funnily enough, I've never actually seen anybody comment on it, but in my Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater video, every time Eva is on screen, I change the level name from Snake Eater to Snake Beater after the trophy from 2. It was a giggle and a half, and I still think it's one of the more hilarious things that I've ever wrote. What game in the Fabula Nova Chrysalis trilogy is your favorite and why? Easily 13-2. I haven't got to play 15 or Type 0 yet, but from the 13 trilogy, 13-2 just rules. It's got the best baddie of all, Caius Ballad, as well as time travel, monster catching, and a banger of an OST. On that note, why is Caius your favorite villain? Well, I mean, look at him. He's cool. He's voiced by Liam O'Brien. He sounds hella smexy. He's got a big-ass sword pulled from the brain of Lovecraft. He's an edgy boy with the heart of chaos, and his main color's purple. Oh, and he's relatable, and his goal is tragic, plus he pulls off his master plan. It's like Yusuke Naora looked into my head and said, "I got you," when designing him. Plus his theme, written by Naoshi Mitsuda, is just mwah. All in all, he's like a Venn diagram of all the things I like, relate to, and admire, except it's just a circle of yes. What's your favorite trophy? A few of them are pretty good. I'll admit some of them are pretty lazy, but my absolute favorite is the Recoded one, followed by Cereza and the Lost Demon.
Guess who's back again.
This means Master Xehanort will return.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Did you ever hear the tragedy of...
Cereza and the Lost Demon.
No, I thought not. It's not a story that
Umbra Witches of Darkness.
I would tell you.
What's an everything great about you want to remake? I'm gonna end up remaking 2 for sure. Death Stranding and Assassin's Creed. Death Stranding is something I'd like to revisit in my newer style and give it more of a thorough examination, as it's become my favorite game. I'd planned on covering the entire Assassin's Creed series before hitting 100, but that didn't pan out, as I kept finding other games I wanted to cover instead. Plus, I haven't beat Valhalla or Mirage yet, not to mention the upcoming Shadow, and I just wanted to do a bit of a refresher before I tackle the whole thing. Will you play Xenoblade in the future? Absolutely yes, but I'm not sure when. Plus, as I'm an insane completionist, I'd probably want to play the full Xeno series, and I know that extends to more than Chronicles. Someday! What's your overall opinion on Call of Duty? I used to really love Call of Duty, specifically the campaign and zombies/extra modes, but recently I can't bring myself to care all that much about them. If I'm gonna play a first-person shooter, I'd rather play something more lively like Bulletstorm or Borderlands, or, VR, but I still play the zombies mode with my buddy. They're still very tight, very fun games. I just can't bring myself to care about the yearly releases anymore. Not like I used to anyway. What is your favorite game of all time? Ooh, that's a tough one and also has multiple answers. Kingdom Hearts, the series, but specifically 2. I'm not sure how many times I've completed the journal, only to turn around and start all over. It's such a fun game, and actually the first game I bought for myself when I got a PS2 alongside Resident Evil 4, since I originally played Kingdom Hearts with my neighbor. She invited me over to play the game on lunch day, and that's actually how I learned about the series and found out about it. Death Stranding, because it's such a cool game. I see the game as a giant puzzle game, needing to use tools and the environments to find the most optimal way to complete your deliveries. The bonker story definitely adds to that, alongside with how, all the technology looks. I don't have a word for it, it just looks so clean and so cool, and it fits so well with everything. I love it. Dead Space 2 is my favorite horror game ever, and I've even gotten the hardcore achievement for it back when I was a 360 gamer. Still need to get that trophy on my PS3 though. Nier Replicant. Yeah, I like this one more than Automata. That shouldn't be new information. It's probably due to it being more character-driven than plot-driven. Kaine is one of my all-time favorite characters, and I love that the story is wrapped up, but things aren't all okay. Majora's Mask. Favorite Zelda game by far. Love all the masks and the darker tone of it. Plus, it has Fierce Deity, my favorite iteration of Link. And finally, Transistor. It's my favorite Supergiant game for being so goddamn beautifully devastating and bleak. What's your overall opinion on Avatar: The Last Airbender? Love it. Love everything about it. It was made and marketed for kids, but doesn't remotely talk down to them at all. The writing is fantastic, and I love the world it's set in. What's your overall opinion on Legend of Korra? I haven't watched it yet, but I am excited to see what happens after Avatar. And I'm probably going to be one of those people that's like, yeah, it's good. It's not Avatar, but it's good. And not look at all the things that apparently make it bad. I don't know, I'm not really that kind of person. It has to be like The Last Airbender levels of bad for me to not like it. What's your overall opinion on Attack on Titan and Berserk? I haven't really got into Attack on Titan, and from what little I've read of Berserk, I love it. Now that I've played all the Souls games, I do the finger-pointing meme every time I see something I recognize, and it's so cool to see where a lot of dark fantasy inspiration comes from. What's your overall opinion on tie-in games? Those can be truly hit or miss. For every good one that I've enjoyed, like Wolverine Origins, there is a slew of bad ones. The only one coming to mind is the Little Witch Academia game, which was horribly broken and boring. If you should rank the Souls games, how would your rank be? In a tie for first place, Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne. Third would be Dark Souls 2, fourth Elden Ring, fifth Dark Souls, sixth Demon Souls, and seventh Sekiro. I only put Sekiro as the last because there's no build variety. It is very tight gameplay. If I were going to rate it specifically all of that, then how I feel of it as a Souls game, it would definitely be probably in the number 3 slot, maybe even number 1. But once you've seen all the endings, there's not a whole lot to pull me back in. Meanwhile, all the other games, there's pretty great variety. I do love Sekiro. I want to preface that, but something had to be at the bottom of the list, and for me, it's the one that doesn't have that much replayability for me specifically. What upcoming games are you excited for? Well, obviously Kingdom Hearts 4, and to a lesser extent Missing Link, although now that I'm looking at that and writing that, I'm actually pretty excited for Missing Link 2, so much to the point that I downloaded Pokemon Go and am playing that while I'm waiting for Missing Link. I will not make the same mistake as last time and assume the lore won't be as important to the main game. Also, speaking of Pokemon, I am excited for the new Legends, I think it's Legends ZA, but the new Legends game. I finally played Legends Arceus for the first time this year, and it is easily my favorite Pokemon game, because I have always been more of like a catch-em-all kind of Pokemon person, rather than a battle person, and just the fact that you can wander out there and catch things. Not that I don't like the battle system or anything, but like you can just wander out and catch things, and like that's the main draw of it, and filling out your Pokedex is a whole completion thing. Like, I love that, and I'm just hoping for more of that with the new Legends game. I'm really excited for that, actually. Next would be Shadow of the Erdtree, the DLC for Elden Ring. While it was more mixed on it than others, I did enjoy Elden Ring. I even platinumed it, and I'm excited to see what's in store. Meaning I hope there's more blood magic. And just as a side note, I am adding this in later, as it comes out before I finish the video, but so far, it's pretty great. I'm taking my time with it, so I haven't fought any major bosses yet, but I am digging the perfumer bottles as weapons. Those are my primary weapons, along with one of the great light swords called Milady. Metal Gear Solid Delta. There hasn't been a new game since Survive, and that was highly contentious, and while it is a remake, it's a remake of the objectively best game in the series. I am a little on the game because it doesn't have Kojima attached, but it was proven wrong with the Dead Space remake by an entirely new team, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt for now. Death Stranding 2. Since I listed the first one as one of my all-time favorites, this should come as no surprise. It looks awesome, and I'm interested to see what linking the world is going to look like. The next Mass Effect. Don't know what they're going to do with it, but I just hope it's good. I really don't want another disappointing ending, or even game for that matter. Also, if they made the indoctrination theory canon, they can easily build a whole game around that. And finally, while I haven't played the first three in a while, Fable 4 is something that's on my radar. I still need to get an Xbox, and I have a love for the Fable series since I played it on the original Xbox. What do you think of the X-Files? I actually haven't watched the entire series, and I most certainly haven't watched it since it was airing on TV, you know, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, and I don't remember a ton of it, but some of my favorite shows like Fringe and Warehouse 13 are spiritual successors of sorts to them, so I probably need to actually watch the series. What's your favorite Final Fantasy game? What is with you people in the tricky questions? So as I said before, it's going to be 13-2. If I had to pick a mainline, not sequel that's not 13, it would be 6. The cast in the world of 6 is fun, and it was the start of adding in the sci-fi/future stuff in the series, and I like that more than the straight fantasy. Aside from 16, because that rules. If it's a spin-off, Tactics A2. I have a love of tactics games, and it being portable with a fun story and having wonderfully diverse job system is an easy win. Plus, the auctions are stupidly addictive. How do you feel about JRPGs and tactical RPGs? I love them both. Not only do they tell wonderful stories, but it's neat to take your time and plan out your strategies. Plus, them having a wide cast makes for fun character interactions. What's a game you enjoy that most people hate? A lot of these are going to be stuff that I've already mentioned before. I mentioned the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy as well as Death Stranding, but the only one I can think of in recent memory was 16. Final Fantasy 16, I should say. The story was badly paced in some areas, and I thought the world and characters were done so well, and it ends in an emotional climax with a sprinkle of nuance and speculation to feel what happened. Also Dead Space 3 and the side games. Dead Space 3 is not a bad game, it just has bad elements, sure, but overall it's still a fun time. What's your favorite gaming franchise after Kingdom Hearts? That's either going to be Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, Metal Gear, or Mass Effect, just kinda depends on what mood I'm in and what itch I need scratched. I'm the kind of person who loves a lot of different things for a lot of different reasons, but most of these franchises hits everything I enjoy. What's your favorite horror franchise besides Dead Space? If we're talking gaming, probably Resident Evil. The characters are great, and I love the creativity of how the various viruses and mold turn stuff into monsters. If we're talking not gaming, it's Saw or Chucky. Both series are great. Saw's just a soap opera with viscera, and Chucky, well, Chucky's a wisecracking killer doll. What do you think about rhythm games like Guitar Hero and Rock Band? Well, overall I like rhythm games because I love music, but specifically those kind I miss. There was something about gamers and non-gamers picking up those plastic instruments and just rocking out. What do you think of the Insomniac Spider-Man games? They are phenomenal. The stories within are amazing, and the web swinging actually makes traveling around the city fun. And as a sub-question to that, what do you think about superhero games in general? They totally rule, because who wouldn't want to be a superhero or have cool powers and stuff? Like, they're always fun. Even if the, game is quote-unquote bad, they're usually pretty damn fun to play. And now, for some of the meatier questions. What inspired you to start a YouTube channel? Well, I mentioned it above that there were quite a few Sims channels, and I wanted to have one for the wins. Plus, I dabbled in video editing before, when I was in high school, I think, so, 10-ish years before I started doing this. Christ, I'm old. And wanted to see if it was something I'm really capable of, which is actually good, because even outside of doing this, granted, I would still have a long way to go if I wanted to have a job in video editing, but I discovered a passion for video editing through doing this, so it's just a neat little side effect that even if I don't stick through YouTube until I die or whatever, I still have a pretty cool skill that, turns out a lot of people don't have. How do you decide on what game to cover? Well, it's kind of a mix of things. I try to have an even amount of games that I've played before and games that I haven't, although it can lean one way or the other. Really, it just comes down to how I feel about something. Something like Avengers or Dissidia NT didn't capture my attention long enough to finish them, and in the latter case, I did not like playing it, especially compared to its predecessors. At this point, I'm trying to hit a few key games in the series before the almighty 100th game, and after that, I'm gonna try doing polls for each individual /series to cover, mixed in with new games. And as far as the new ones go, it just depends on how excited I am and how much I enjoyed a game to cover it right away. Something like Stellar Blade I'm enjoying a lot, so I'll probably cover it soonish, but it, won't be until after the 100. But something like Eternites is something I'm mixed on, so I'll probably wait it until later. Even if the algorithm demands videos on a game to come out immediately, it usually ends up, at least in my case, something that I'm not proud of because it was rushed out. Kind of similar to Death Stranding and kind of Final Fantasy VII. I'm actually okay with that one, but there's more that I could have done with it. I like to think on things and let it digest before anything gets made. Take Bayonetta 3 for example. I had beaten it in the first couple of days of release, but was not happy with the ending and a lot of the overall storytelling, and it wasn't until a week or two before the video launched that I even had all of my thoughts on it properly out. It was a fine game, but I didn't have the words to express what I didn't like. Where does your name come from? So I used to work at a funeral home and originally started the channel while working there. So while I'm good at games, I do tend to die a lot due to my reckless nature, so I figured DEDMan would be funny, and just as an added funny twist, I spelled it like the scene from Robin Hood, Bed and Tights. How many hours do you spend on everything great about video, both on average and what video took the longest to make? Well, first I have to play the game, so however long that is depending on the game, such as Rebirth took me 150 hours to complete because I was trying to do everything, so that's how long it took, but something like, say, The Darkness 2 is a pretty short game, and I had played it a lot before then, so I pretty much could just breeze through it, and I think that took me maybe 5 to 7 hours, something like that. I don't know, it's been a couple of years since I made it. Then I go through and rewatch all of my footage and mark down what the wins are. After that, I edit the thing. So, the short way of answering that is roughly 3 times the game's length on average, though I'd say after gameplay, just the editing and scripting process is roughly 20 hours or so. It just depends on. The longest I think would be Kingdom Hearts 3, but that was mostly due to trying a new process when scripting. Although technically speaking, Nirvana Initiative was the longest since I stopped scripting it for over a year. And I stopped scripting it 2 or 3 sections before the final bit, so it was almost done for over a year, and it just drove me nuts, but I did not feel like going back to it. What's your biggest inspiration for starting the Everything Great About series? Truthfully, it would be CinemaWins. Funny thought is, for years I thought someone should make a CinemaWins channel to counter cinema sins, and eventually someone did. Then I saw the couple of sins channels pop up for gaming, and I thought I'd try my hand at it. Also, the Birdman and Dead Meat. The Birdman is funny, as well as putting a ton of research into his videos from what I can tell. And as far as Dead Meat goes, the same thing with the research, plus James just seems like such a genuinely good guy who's passionate about his love for horror, and I felt a kindred spirit with him, but for gaming. And the final question is, how does it feel having put in years of work on long, good videos, and pretty much none of them have found a bigger audience or much traction? Now, first off, I paraphrased this as it was a doozy of a question, and honestly, it's my favorite one that was asked today. It wasn't asked out of spite, but genuine curiosity, and that's the kind of brutal honesty that I can appreciate. So, thank you, Zephyr Sebzer. I hope I pronounced that right. Honestly, it sucks. It sucks a lot, but I actually enjoy it to an extent, as it lets me continue to be completely free with how I make these videos, with no censorship, aside from the boobs, because I feel like that would get knocked whether I got paid or not to do this. But, you know, I don't censor the swearing or anything, I just try to have it sparingly. No censorship, no bowing to the algorithm. I do really appreciate the admiration and of the few people that keep up with the videos. It's really, really appreciated. I started making these videos 5 years ago, and unfortunately, somebody else got the same idea about a year and a half later. He, smartly I might add, called himself Gaming Wins, and that likely helped him be seen. That's one of those regrets I have where I should have been Gaming Wins, but it should have been like Gaming Wins as presented by DEDMan or something. I mean, it wouldn't be in the channel, but, you know, it would be the Gaming Wins channel, and then have DEDMan the character be it, but then I kind of also like how it is. I'm not really sure what I could have done better or worse, and quite honestly, I'm bad at promoting myself and probably at doing the tags correctly and everything. I'm jealous that it's not me, but kudos to him for putting in the effort. I'm content with where I'm at and would love the opportunity for a bigger audience, but if I don't, that's fine too. As a small aside, I do love slipping in small Easter eggs here and there, whether it be the text I type into the subtitles, the thumbnail, the DEDMan arts, or the edits. But one that I'm extremely happy with, and is almost a mantra to myself, is actually the ending credits theme of all my modern videos. The song is titled Love for the Craft by Victor McKnight, and it's what I tell myself every time I want to quit. I'm doing this for me, because I want to, and not because I'm being paid to. Not that that's a bad thing, but just as a thing to myself. I'm doing this for me, and not because I need to keep doing this, and I need to keep upkeeping. I need to do it because I want to keep doing it. It's not, you know, the other way around. I'm not doing this and getting like burnt out, because I do take small breaks here and there. Usually I just break myself for a couple of days, and then I can kind of be a little bit refreshed and come back to it. I love discussing themes, music, story, characters, and just about everything to do with art, especially with games, and that's why I made this channel. I love games. I don't really even think that there's a lot of games that are completely 100% bad. You know, there's places out there that will have you believe that, oh, if a game is a 7 out of 10, it's just dog shit, not worth your time to play. When, you know, in reality, 7 out of 10 is still pretty damn good. It's average. Some of my favorite games are 7 out of 10s. You know, there's only a handful, like, okay, say Avengers and Dissidia. I am going off on a little bit of a tangent. But Avengers and Dissidia, I don't think that either of them were wholly bad games, but for Avengers, once I got past the, like, tutorial section, I was just kind of bored with the kind of grindy rinse-repeat thing, because it was modeled around a looter thing that's supposed to be online and microtransactions on all of that. And Dissidia just... I don't really know how that one kind of got borked as bad as it did, because Dissidia 12 was one of my favorite games for the PSP. I say Dissidia 12, both Dissidias were, but I mean Dissidia 12 was just more of the first Dissidia. And the stories were good on them too, and in this one, like, I just wasn't following it as well. And also, it's a little pissy on me, I will admit that. But, like, I don't understand why they can't add frickin' Caius Ballad in anything outside of Final Fantasy 13 too. He's, like, Lightning's main antagonist, and he's not anywhere else, and it's frustrating. He's not even in Feet Rhythm either, and it's also frustrating. But anyway, tangent done. I think they're great overall, and I want more people to appreciate what we get rather than what we don't. And as Cinema Wins likes to say, it's more fun to like things, and I couldn't agree more. Hi, it's me. This is my full face. This is what you people asked for. And you know what, I'm kind of pissed, because you guys never ever vote unanimously on a poll. And my face reveal was the only thing you unanimously voted on, so congratulations for that. I don't really know how to end these things, or even pace them, to be honest, but thank you for all of your questions. Each one of them were fun to answer, and from the opinion-based to some of the more inner workings on the channel, you know, I just appreciate the questions. You know, it's nice to know that I have put up some kind of following to actually get to this point to where I can do a Q&A, even if it's just small, and I think like 90% of the questions were from Anthony, so thank you, Anthony. I appreciate each and every person that has helped the channel grow over the years. Thank you for watching, and try not to die out there.